Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to host a Keycloak server online deployed using fly.io. And I'm going to show you how to create a database and connect it. And first, we're going to run through everything locally. And I think it's all going to take about 10 minutes. This is actually a video based on an article I wrote a few days ago on Medium, which I'll link in the description, which goes into a detailed walkthrough of how to do all of this. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do, you can use your file explorer. I'm just going to use the terminals. I'm going to create a directory for where I want to create my Keycloak server locally. So I'm just going to do make directory Keycloak, go into that. And then from here, I'm going to open up VS Code. So again, you could have just done this in VS Code by creating a new project in a new folder, whatever you like. All we're going to do is create a Dockerfile. Now, this video assumes that you have some Docker experience and Docker installed already. If not, just look at the docs for Docker Online. It's super simple. You can get going really, really fast. Now, in this Dockerfile, I'm just going to paste in these 3 lines. Now, what this does is pull the latest Keycloak image. Now, I'm actually going to change this to 22.0. This was the latest version up to about 2 days ago. They've just released version 23 and it's introduced what I believe is a bug. So I'm just going to use 22 for now, but hopefully by the time you're watching this, you can just use the latest and it'll be fixed. Second line introduces a environment variable, the admin password, username and password that we're going to use to log in. We're just going to put the admin one here, and then we'll use the password one in our Docker run command later. And here, this is just how Keycloak starts, basically. It runs a function in the it just runs the kc shell command and passes it the start dev argument. And that's it. I'm going to pull up the terminal here. I could just use this one, but I'm just going to use the one in VS Code for simplicity's sake. From here, I'm going to build our image. So docker build tag. Give it a name, Keycloak. I don't know, Keycloak YouTube. And then full stop. Full stop just tells it to look for the Dockerfile where you ran this command. So as you can see, it's built our Dockerfile. Now let's run it locally. So all we're going to do is docker run. We're going to specify a port. Now this is 8080. It's just a default. And then we're going to give it a Keycloak password. And I'm just going to call it admin. And then finally, we're going to give it our image name that we just called it. So I just called it Keycloak YouTube. And let me just double check. Yeah, I thought so. It's not Keycloak password, sorry. Keycloak admin password. And then from here, repository name must be lowercase. Right. You want to do a -e there to specify it's an environment variable. Sorry about that. I have all the commands pasted in the Medium article. So again, I highly recommend you open that up as you're watching this. The Medium article itself can show you how to do all of this. YouTube's video is just like a supplement to it. Now you can see in barely any time at all, it's all loading up. It's initializing our master realm. And here we go, running server in development mode. So if we go to localhost 8080, which is the port we specified, we can see that you have Keycloak up and running, which is very cool. Now, if you go into this and use admin or whatever credentials you specified in your environment variables, you can access the admin user interface. However, you probably guessed by now, we're going to need to add a database to this because any changes we make here aren't going to save. So let me show you how to do that. So if you already have a Postgres database, you don't need to do this step. This video is about using fly.io as a deployment platform, and towards the end of the video, we'll be using it to deploy our Keycloak server as well as our database. So I do recommend you still create an account here, but if you've already got a Postgres database, then you know what to do. When I show you the environment variables you need to use, just replace it with your own username and password and Keycloak and your Postgres database URL, and you'll be fine. But if you haven't got one, I'm going to show you how easy it is to create one with Fly. Now, Fly.io is similar to Heroku, if you've used that before. It's a very, very developer-friendly deployment platform. Now, to create an account is super easy. However, there is a bit of a catch. Um, you have to attach a credit card or debit card to your account to be able to use it properly and fully. Now, I know this can put a lot of you off. Trust me, it put me off as well. However, the first $5 that you spend on Fly.io is completely free. You don't get charged for it. Now, I've already created my account, so I'll go to my dashboard and you can see here, I did this whole video yesterday as like a practice run. And so I had a Keycloak server running for about 24 hours before I just deleted it before this video. It cost me 9 cents. So if you're using Fly.io just for this video, you're never going to go past $5. And even if I've created like 20 different test apps in a month, and I didn't even go past like $3, $4. And you can see here in the dashboard, you can see your current costs so easily. So you can just keep an eye on it. If you don't want to pay anything, just keep an eye on that. If you see that going up to like $4, go into all your apps and just turn them off for the month. So hopefully you feel okay now to attach your credit card. You'll see here there'll be a little message here saying that you can't use all the features. So in order to continue with this video, you are going to need to connect your debit card. So I really recommend you go ahead and do that. Okay, so after you've done all of that, you probably saw somewhere to install the Fly command line. And if you haven't already, go ahead and do this. I'll leave a link for this in the description below. And as you can see, it's really easy. Mac, Linux, Windows, you just copy and paste these commands and you get your command line. Now, once you do that, what you're going to want to do first is connect your command line to your account. And you just do that by going fly auth login. I'm not going to do it because I'm already logged in right now. But when you do that, a browser window is going to appear and you just click continue and that's it. And then we're finally ready to do our first command. So we want a database, right? So all we're going to do is fly Postgres create. I'm going to give it a username, name, give it whatever you like. I'm going to call it Keycloak YouTube DB. Give it my local area. I'm going to use development because you don't need a massive production ready config for your database right now. I'm going to select no to this single node PG thing. And then just give it a few seconds. And here we are. So you can see it spat out these passwords and all that. Now, don't even try to hack me because by the time this video comes out, I'm going to be deleting all of this. So none of this will exist. We've hosted our database online and it's not as easy as just going to it online and then you can just connect to it straight away, right? You can't just use the name of the database and username and password and you'll connect. What you need to do is proxy a connection between the Fly database and your machine if you want to use it locally. And the way we do that is super simple. I recommend creating a new terminal window for this because it's one of those commands that don't close. And so you're not going to be able to run any more commands after it. But all you're going to want to do is fly proxy and then give it your database name. So I just called this Keycloak YouTube DB. And then specify a port. 5432 is the default Postgres port. So as you can see, it's now proxied locally. So now we can start using it if we use localhost 5432. That's our database. So all we're going to need to do now is add a few more environment variables. I'm just going to copy and paste it here. Again, everything's on the Medium article, and you can just go there and copy everything and save the changes. Now, there's something important to note here. I'm using Linux, and with Linux, with Docker, you can use localhost and just specify a network flag when we run the Docker image. For other platforms, it's a bit different, and I'll leave a description to the Docker docs about that, because if you're using Mac, this is going to change to something like docker.internal.host or something like that. So you're going to need to keep an eye out for that. But if you're using Linux, you can go ahead and use localhost. Now, As you can see, all we've done is specify the database name, it's, the type of database, it's Postgres, give it a connection URL, and give it a username. As you can see, the username out here was Postgres, and it's always defaulting to Postgres, so we can just use that here. Now we're just going to need to connect using this password, which we're not going to put in here because we don't want to put that in a Dockerfile. So we'll instead use a Docker run command. But before I even do that, first thing you're going to want to do is rebuild your image. So I'm going to give it tag, what was it, Keycloak YouTube. And then now we're going to run it. So again, Docker run, give it a port, 8080. And this is only for Linux, network equals host. And then we're going to specify our environment variables. So Keycloak admin password. Again, we're going to call it admin. And here's the new one, DB password. And that's what we're going to give this. So I'm just going to copy and paste it just to make sure I get it right. And then finally, give it the image name. So it's Keycloak YouTube. And now we should see that a new Keycloak image will build, but this time connected to a database. You can see running the server in development mode. So once again, if we go to localhost 8080, you can see that once more, our Keycloak image is running, but this time it's connected to a database. So anything we do here is going to persist, which is great. Good job. All right, so finally, this last part of the video, let's deploy this to Fly. And we're going to be deploying a Keycloak image to Fly, but this applies to any kind of application, a .NET app, a Java app, a React app, whatever. You can post all of it up to fly.io. Super simple. Let me show you. So first, I'm just going to get out of this Docker by pressing Control-C. And then I'm going to do this command, fly launch. And I'm going to add the no deploy flag. You don't have to do that, but I do recommend you do that. What you can see is it's given us some values for the app that we're going to post up to Fly. And this actually all looks fine, but I'm just going to press yes here anyway for you to see what happens. So this window just popped up, and from here you can specify all the different things you want to do with your app. And you can even see that you can create a database with the fly launch command, and this will automatically connect it to your app and everything. It's really great. But for me, everything looks fine. However, I know if I click confirm, Keycloak's already taken. That's because I've already taken this. So we're going to need to give this something else. Keycloak YouTube. All right, that worked. So now you can see we're ready to deploy. So the reason why I did no deploy is because right now we need to set environment variables for the Fly application. These are our environment variables for our Dockerfile, but we need to set it for the actual application itself. Now, you can do all of this in one go, and I have a very handy command to run. But however, before we do that first, actually, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. We need to actually connect our database to our Fly application. We've just connected our database to our Dockerfile, but to connect to a Fly application, it's a bit different. Whenever you want a Fly application to connect to a database, you're going to need to run a Postgres command. Something like this. Fly Postgres, attach. Then you give it a name that you want, the application you want to connect to, and then you give it your database name. So what this does is it creates a database and a user specifically for these two applications. Now you can use the default one if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and use the new username here and the new password. And more than this, behind the scenes, your Fly application now knows where to find your database. And so now, the very second to last thing we're going to do now is paste in this giant secret command. And again, this is all in the Medium article, and we're going to go through it step by step. So first, we're going to set the application name, Keycloak YouTube. Casey, you can see that all of these are these environment variables as well. You can go ahead and delete all of these now because these are all going to be set on the machine, but you can just go ahead and leave that. Keycloak admins, admin password, admin. Now the DB URL is a bit tricky. You wouldn't believe how long it took me to find out how to do this properly. But what you're going to want to do here is your database name. Mine was Keycloak YouTube DB. .flycast 5432. That .flycast, it basically lets Fly know how to resolve that address into an internal IP address. So basically now your two applications can talk to each other. And now here, we're just going to do our Keycloak application, but without any hyphens. So it was Keycloak _ now YouTube. DB username, I'm going to use the new one. Again, this is the username and that's the password. So I'm going to go ahead and just write Keycloak YouTube. And then the password, I'm actually going to go ahead and copy and paste it just so I don't make a mistake. There we are. Now what this is going to do is set the secrets that are going to be deployed for the first time you deploy it. And then to do that, all we have to do is fly deploy. And with a bit of luck, this will all work first time. But this is a YouTube video, and like, when do things ever work first time, eh? All right. Normally this just takes like not even a minute. But you probably see my clock up here. It's taken a little while. Looks like Fly just went down for a little bit. But as you can see, it's given us this link where we can watch the deployment. And this is basically where you can find the logs. You can also find them just doing like Fly logs and then your app name. And here is the logs for our application. Now you can see, if we go to our personal thing here, this is our Fly dashboard again. And here's our database. This thing right here, this funny named one, is the remote builder. You don't need to worry about that. It just builds your machines for you. All right. So as you can see from these docs, running in server in development mode, we're ready to go. Go ahead and click this link. This is your new Keycloak application. Here we are. Sorry, I didn't mean to click that one. But now you can see Keycloak YouTube fly.dev. Now have Keycloak hosted on Fly. Super cheap, super quick. Ready to go. How good is that? So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry if I rambled on too much. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. Of course, read the Medium article as well. It should answer a lot of your questions. And stay tuned for the next video.